Hello, I'm Jez Smith and welcome to idea number 17 from the book Humans Are Not Resources, 50 Great Ideas for Managing a Modern Lean Agile Workforce. This idea is called Agile Working is Not Working from Home, sort of. And it all goes back to a conversation I had a few years ago. I was looking for a new job in the Agile space. I saw a job ad, someone saying, we need someone to lead our Agile ways of working transformation from scratch. And I thought, fantastic, you don't often get to see a genuine, new greenfield transformation where they haven't tried anything yet. It's a really, really potentially exciting opportunity. So I got in touch with them and said, here I am, I've done these sorts of things before. What sort of thing are you looking for? And the conversation was just a bit odd. And then it just got odder until eventually they were asking me, so exactly what percentage of desk space reduction have you achieved previously? And I'll say, how is that anything to do with an agile transformation? And it turned out what they meant by agile ways of working was you didn't have to sit at a desk in an office anymore, you could work from home. Because they were spending too much on office space, they needed to cut their costs, so they wanted to move to a situation where people didn't work in the office full time, and they needed someone to manage basically, reducing desk space, shutting down offices, and having people work at home to save the company money. And I kind of said, well, this is nothing to do with Agile as far as I know it. But for them it was, because it kind of meant Agile meant flexible, and this meant flexible working, so this was their Agile ways of working and so forth. But that really got me thinking. The slightly confusing conversation and slightly disappointing thing that it wasn't a real opportunity really got me thinking about it. Because my initial reaction was to say, well, working from home is the opposite of what Agile is. If you look at the Agile Manifesto, kind of the founding document of the Agile movement, as it were, principle number 6 of the Agile Manifesto says that the most efficient and effective means of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. So if everyone's working from home, how are you going to have that face-to-face conversation? Really, what you want is more people coming into the office than not being in the office so they can converse face-to-face and so forth. But actually, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, this may have moved on. The Agile Manifesto was written in 2001, and at the heart of Principle 6 is something called high bandwidth communication. It's not necessarily about being face-to-face, it's about having communication that has a real richness and high bandwidth to it. So if you think of email, when you send someone an email, all they see are your words on a screen, black and white. It's the reason that you find email has a filter built into it, that if you exchange an email backwards and forwards about 5 times with someone, it often becomes an argument, because you're not getting any of the other context around what they're saying, you're just seeing words on a screen. If you speak to someone on the phone, you're getting the same words, but you're also hearing their tone of voice. The bandwidth of that conversation has kind of opened up a bit, there's more richness to it. If you go to video chat, you can see their face, you can see their facial expressions, and you can hear their tone of voice, and you get their words. It's an even higher bandwidth conversation. And obviously face-to-face is really, really high bandwidth. You're getting all of those subtle little cues and bits of body language that might be missed on video chat. But it's one of the reasons that face-to-face kind of is unrepeatable, is unbeatable in that sense. There's a human element to being face-to-face with someone in a room that you just can't get in other ways. But I think when the manifesto was written in 2001, there weren't many high bandwidth options. There was email, there was the telephone, and there was face-to-face. High bandwidth video chat was pretty rare. The internet just wasn't sophisticated at that point enough to handle mass communication using video. But now it has. Now we've moved on. I think one of the things, this video being recorded during the time of a COVID lockdown, one of the things we've all found is we can actually work from home pretty well. It's not as good necessarily in some instances, but we're still getting high bandwidth communication and so forth. But another thing we miss is that very often being face-to-face with someone doesn't mean you're going to collaborate with them. Collaboration or co-location is not collaboration. because you may dislike the person. You may not be able to communicate with them very well. You may have no shared mental models. There may be language barriers, there may be cultural barriers, all those sorts of things. Just putting people in a room face to face doesn't mean everything's going to be awesome. Actually, quite often putting people in a room face to face can make things worse because they start to annoy each other, they realise just how much they dislike each other on a day-to-day basis, and collaboration gets worse than if they'd never spent much time together in the first place. And the fundamental truth to both of these points around high bandwidth communication and the fact that co-location is not collaboration comes down to something I think HR people and people managers have a huge responsibility for to fix, and a huge potential to fix as well. And this is around training people in communication skills, training people in the human factors of interaction and collaboration and so forth, because for many people it doesn't come naturally, or for many people there are blockages they're not even aware of until they meet someone else with whom they find it difficult to collaborate or communicate and so forth. And very often we just assume this will happen. Put people together, we're agile now, and suddenly magic will happen. You know, pick up the phone to someone and things will be great. Not necessarily. If we can train them in communication skills and collaboration skills, we give them so much more of a head start to actually communicate and collaborate better, without even the need necessarily for all that face-to-face co-location that may, thanks to COVID, or not thanks to COVID in a way, become ever more prevalent in the workplace as offices look to move more and more towards home working. So that's what I'd like you to do. The experiment I'd like you to try as a people manager, an HR person, a trainer, start looking into collaboration and communication skills and training people in them, training your teams, helping them understand how good communication and collaboration works. Because I think there are huge amounts of benefits to be had from that kind of aren't being tapped at the moment. And it's all too easy to miss when you look at the Agile Manifesto and it says, you know, face-to-face communication. Then we say, great, put everyone in the same space or put them on video chat and job done, we're Agile. Actually, it's missing what's at the heart of that, the high bandwidth communication and the shared mental models and the ability to communicate effectively and collaborate with other people. We need to put more time and investment into training that, would be my recommendation. So, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, that would be lovely. If you have any thoughts, any feedback on this, I'd love to hear them. Do feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you really enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There are plenty more videos like this coming up.